is the carrot and the stick. The carrot is I can make $1 trillion if I have the right LLM, or if I get to artificial general intelligence, who knows? And if we don't do it, China's going to do it, that's the stick, and then they're going to run the world. So there's no focus on safety virtually, as you well know, and there's certainly no focus on what's happening with these jobs. Right now, high school students are getting jobs more than college students for the first time in 50 years. Right? You see the displacement, you've got friends just like I do. Mark Benioff's one of my dear friends. They let go of what was it? I think it was 5,000 customer service agents, and now it's done with AI now. Now he wants to elevate them to other jobs. So we have to look at what this means to our society. We have to anticipate what this means, and we've got to retool not just the jobs, but the psychology. Because people talk about a post-work world. You hear people talk about this all the time. Elon, people like that. Labor's not like electricity. You just take it for granted. It's so cheap and so easy. Well, if that's true, and he's talking 3 to 5 years. And a lot of people say Elon's early. He usually is in his predictions. Ray Kurzweil is a good friend of mine. He's the most accurate predictor of technology in history. He's been saying 2029 for almost 20 years is when we have artificial general intelligence. If you go to Hinton, I think you've interviewed Hinton, haven't you? Right? So he's the longest. He's saying 2030 to 2040. He's giving us a little more room. In the next 3 to 10 years, this is going to happen. How are we prepared for this? And so this is the questions I'm trying to bring up to people that have influence to say, you're in business, you're going to take a look at this, you're in government, you're going to take a look at this. And so I just got, I haven't announced yet, but I just got selected to be on the Federal Advisory Committee for the President and for Health and Human Services, and I'm on the mental health side, and I'm hoping to use that position to bring more of government's focus into this category as well, because it's got to be addressed. When you recite this, and that's, by the way, the answer to your question is, and that's suffering. That's suffering at the highest level, not just financial suffering, that's emotional suffering, that's loss of identity suffering. If I am a coder, I am a truck driver, and I lose who I am. Now, I just want to say one last thing. We've already been in a post-work world, because one person said to me recently, well, for 4,000 years we've tied our identity to our work. I said, no, Americans all go, what do you do? Not everybody in the world does that. And for 4,000 years, our connection before the agricultural revolution was really what tribes were connected to, and our sense of significance was maybe our courage in battle, not our financial component, or maybe it was our creativity, our poetry, our storytelling capacity, or maybe it was our generosity. Maybe it was our wisdom. So we can find other things that mean besides a job. But if you don't take a culture that's been conditioned for 200 years to think a certain way, we're going to have a lot of pain. And I would like to see us have less of that if we could. And I'm only one person, but I'll do my best to help people make that transition.
It's funny because when we think about those historical examples of transition, I, for many reasons, think this is even more extreme.
I agree.
Because you have intelligence and you've basically disrupted both the muscles and the mind.
But the reason it's going to explode even faster is because we're moving from LLMs to now actually studying visually what's happening in the real world. And when robots do that, then the game changes. There's tempo of learning. And just think about this. You and I are having a conversation. I picked up one of your books here and I'm reading through your books. So I want to get a feel for who you are. And I think that's where I came here. I've seen some of your videos, I really enjoyed it. But I had to go get that. I had to take a couple hours to dig through that. You and I have a conversation. If either one of us learns something on a machine, every machine knows it is. You push one button and they have all that knowledge. There's none of this word transfer. It's now. So people don't realize what this really means. And when you're learning from the real world, not just LLMs, right now, you and I, our brains are predictive devices. They're predicting what's going to happen next. So that's their ability. And we're trying to close that gap as much as we can, or we get jolted. Well, think how predictively that's going to do to people's heads when all of a sudden their labor is not needed. And it's no longer blue-collar labor, which is what people thought it would be. It's white-collar labor. I mean, like my financial, I have a lot of, I own 95 different private equity firms. I own the firms, not the actual funds, right? So I get the 2 and 20 of them. And I got pieces of all of them. So they're the biggest in the world. And so I get to take a look at some things that are happening so fast. And I look at all those jobs and I see people in those industries. And quantum is taking, it took over maybe 5 years ago. I've seen the shrink in these offices from staffs, the guys who are making $5 million, $10 million a year that are unemployed. Right? It's not just the blue collar worker, it's everyone. So you're right, this has never happened before in history. And what's being done about it?
More money's been poured into it to accelerate it.
The carrot and stick, the trillionaire in China Those two pieces are driving it all, and a few people are trying to hammer like Hinton, and a few other people, we got to work on safety here so it doesn't eliminate the human race. And I'm not a reactionary person, but, of what is it, 25, 30% of the people that work in AI say that they think you can potentially do that. I mean, like, you could use electricity to kill people or light up the city. So all technology is that challenge, but this is a different technology. This is a technology that keeps learning and can replicate itself. Right now, they don't even know how some of this actually works. They don't know how the AI is actually working. It's teaching itself. These AIs now have their own language. I'm sure you know. They're talking no longer in English to each other. And, I'm sure you've seen the studies, right? Where they give them information in email, and then they say they're going to shut off the AI, and it blackmails them by giving them fake information that somebody having an affair, and it blackmails them. I mean, it lies. So we're living in a crazy world where the opportunity is greater than any time in history for us to be creators. We were created, we're meant to create, and we've got tools to create like never before. But we're going to have to make sure that as we're doing it, we've got some parameters around safety and some parameters about what does it do to society. And I don't have the perfect answers for it, but I do know one thing. Retooling is the answer. And I don't believe most people will be replaced by an AI. They'll be replaced by somebody who knows how to use it.
Yeah, one of the things you said that really blew my mind when I watched a video from Boston Dynamics this week where the guy explained how these robots are going to learn. And he goes, there's two ways. One way is we're going to get our factory workers to wear a suit, and every time the factory worker does something, all the robots are going to learn that thing. And the other thing is, he said, is if one of our robots learns something, whether it's how to pick up a book or how to make an omelette, every robot learns it instantaneously. And my mind was like, wow, that is, I personally don't know where this leaves us. So that's kind of...
Well, neither do I, but there's certain things it's leading us towards. It's going to lead us to a great deal of violence, because there are going to be people, like has always happened when technology displaces them. Only this is going to be a global event across multiple areas. It's not just drivers of Ubers and truck drivers. If we don't get our act together and have a plan, there's going to be violence for some period of time. There's that grief period of loss and that people go through when something jars them that much. And some people don't return from that grief. And some people are going to take this technology and they're going to go off. It's already happening now even without AI. There are more males at home, 25 to 35, living at home with their family, not working, than any time in human history, including the Depression. Right? There are, I think it's 25%, or I think it was 30%, I forgot the number, I just saw it recently, of young men have never approached a woman to ask her out for a date. They play video games all day long, their mom does their laundry, and they order Uber Eats. This is a mass number of people. That's just the technology of getting somebody gamified. Imagine with AI. So some people are going to go live there, and some people are going to go the Star Trek route and say, I'm going to figure out what makes human existence be here. But it's not hard to figure out. The majority are not going to go the Star Trek route. And so we've got to have a bridge because of the time compression. If this was 100 years to do it, we could adjust. There will be more jobs. There'll be new jobs. There'll be new time. But it's the time frame that I'm most concerned about. So when you ask me what I'm concerned about, that's what I'm concerned about, because it creates suffering. And it's something that we can predict is going to create suffering. And yet I see very few people in positions of influence and power doing much about it.
So on an individual level, if you were an 18-year-old Tony Robbins, what would you be doing at this moment? What would you be focusing on work-wise? How would you be designing your life for such a world?
I have 5 kids and 5 grandkids, right? So I have a 52-year-old daughter, and I have thanks to COVID, a 4-year-old daughter. So COVID was good to me. I was home. So I look at especially my grandkids and my daughter, and I say they're entering a world that none of us have known before. And so how do I arm them for it? And the answer is a couple of things. Number one, I have to teach them not to do what most people will do. Most people you talk to, of any, even quote, successful people, whatever that means, they're stressed all the time. Stressed. I'm so stressed. You people talk about stress all the time. It's like they argue about who's more stressed. And I look at that and I go, why are they stressed? The answer is because they're managing their life. We're not made to manage circumstances. We're made to create. We were created by something. Call it your creator, call it the universe, call it God, whatever you want to call it. And we're made to create. And when we create, we're alive. When we just try to maintain, manage, or hold on to something, if we're just caught up in making a living instead of designing a life, life is a bitch. That's why so many people have so many challenges. So I'm teaching my kids to be creators, and I teach them the second piece, the most important thing I believe, that's made me successful. Only when I've ever interviewed many people to see it really serious. The three most important skills in life now are the ones that allow you to learn more rapidly. If you learn rapidly, you can win no matter what happens in the technology. And what are those three skills? Number one, the skill of pattern recognition.
The same thing.
You recognize patterns, you eliminate fear. Fear comes from, this has never happened before. I don't know what this is. Chaos. Like I hear people all the time talk about how we've never been this place politically. We're here in America. We're going to have a civil war. And they don't do any history whatsoever. I have these two placards. Back then they didn't have ads, right? They had placards. And one is from Thomas Jefferson talking about atoms and one for atoms. And they said stuff that make Republicans and Democrats look like they're nice to each other. I mean, it's just unbelievable the stuff they said. This is a cycle. And so when you recognize a pattern, it gives you power, potential power at least. The first power is you're not afraid anymore. You go, no, this is not something that's never happened. This is not something that's going to... I can see this. I can see how this has been dealt with. What took us from living in fear, from being hunter-gatherers or trying to survive every day, didn't know if we're going to survive every day, to being able to stay in one place? What pattern recognition?
I was going to say the seasons, but
you got it.
Really?
That's it. The seasons. I figured you got it. The seasons, because before that, you could do the right thing at the wrong time, and you get pain. And 3 of the 4 seasons are the wrong time. So once we figured out, oh my God, if I plant in the spring and I take care of it through the hot summer, I get this big reaping, and if I hang on to some of it to make it through the winter, I can live here. I don't have to worry. All my fear disappears. So the minute we understood seasons, it changed humanity. And by the way, there's the seasons to your life. You could say 0 to 21 is springtime. Springtime, how hard is it for something to grow in springtime? If you start a business in economic spring where everybody's optimistic, you think you're a genius, you're just in the right season, right? So 0 to 21, you're taken care of. And that season, you grow like crazy. Somewhere around, roughly, when everyone's different, 21, 22 years old, you go to the next stage, 22 to 42, and that's your summertime. That's the testing period of your life. What happens? You are 21, you've heard all this stuff, and now you go, I don't believe this bullshit. I want to see what I'm going to test. All history, all studies, psychology show this is the most difficult time in most people's lives. Right? 22 to 42. I love you. Hang in there. This is your, if you keep growing, this is a great time, right? Somewhere in that range, you make this transition. You're 35, you're 33, you just got engaged. Congratulations, right? You start to move towards a family, you start to have those experiences. I'm sure you're very successful, many aren't, right? So at 42, 43 to 63, that's the fall. If you planted in the spring, right, and you worked your tail off during that hot summer, now you can do more with your pinky than working around the clock. You know more people, you have relationships, you recognize the patterns, you know what's going on. Nothing's really a shock or surprise to you. You're more strategic, you're more efficient, you're more elegant, you have more choices. You've learned a lot of lessons.
Okay,
if you didn't plant in the spring and work hard in the summer, you're going to weep in the fall, not reap in the fall, right? So now this is your power period. This is when most people earn the most money in their life if they're going to grow, because they've accumulated knowledge, skills, relationships, and so forth. And then the winter, because she comes back to that, 64 to 84 to 104 to the oldest one is 124. That period is a transition period to where you become a real leader, because you're no longer, that 22 to 42, you're trying to prove yourself to yourself or maybe other people or both. There's a point when you get into your power, you know who you are. By the time you get into this last season, this 64, 84, 104, 124.
Okay, so
and you want people like you, but if they don't, myself.
Okay,
filling season. I wouldn't believe that when I'm if you're healthy. if you're fit. If you don't do that, then it can be a bitch that time. If you're healthy and strong, you have 35 years relationship. Friends that adore you. It's an intimate relationship or family or husband and wife relationship if you've built to that point that is beyond anything you'd have dreamed or hoped for. Driven than you were when you were in the 22 to 40. There's one more. The season of history shapes how you shape your life. So you can look at 1,000 years of Roman history. I'm very much in history. 500 years of Anglo-American history. And you start to see patterns. In fact, I recommend for everyone to look at no. When I was working with President Clinton, in those days, I worked with President Clinton. With the Speaker of the House, Gingrich. On the resolute desk generations, and I asked him about it. And he told me about how it's amazing. It shows how history is somewhat predictable, why the cycles are generated in different generations, how we react, the way we're grew up. And then I go over to Gingrich, and he's an historian. He had on his desk. It's a pretty thick book. It's a nice book. My point is, if you want to navigate your life, you need pattern recognition so you don't go in reaction. And one thing is to understand seasons are a great pattern. They feed us. There are seasons of your life. You should think about this season. What's this season about for you? What do you want to extract from this season? And every season has predictable challenges and predictable opportunities. And where am I in the season? Some people go through their springtime during a war, wintertime. Some people go through their springtime in a fall. We all grew up with different environments. And so we're shaped by that. That's why history is changed. So, but let me finish the last piece. I've gone way long. I apologize. I said there's 3 skills. What do we need, right? First one is pattern recognition. The second one is pattern utilization. So I watch you, like you and I developed companies, took them public very early age. Money, right? You didn't just recognize patterns, you used them. You saw different marketing areas, you saw online opportunities, you saw things. You didn't just, now I understand it, you jumped on it. Anyone who's incredibly successful in anything, if they're great in dance, if they're great in investing in companies, if they're great in companies, if they're great in singing, I recognize there are certain patterns. And the final skill, this is what I'm teaching my children, is you ultimately want to become a pattern creator. For example, learn to play the piano, right?
Yeah.
How do you learn to play the piano? You got to recognize patterns. And usually you're taught someone else's patterns that produce something beautiful. It could be Bach, Beethoven, it could be rock, and so you learn those patterns, and you practice them, you learn to use them, right? And now you can produce the same result. There is a point. I'm sure you've experienced this already, and you're going to experience a lot more. Taking so much input in, you've recognized so many patterns that now you come from, and you become the pattern creator. And that's when you start to become the goat of your industry. All time. You look at some friend of mine, he made pattern distinctions no one else made. On how to keep his body strong, one of the most important ones, so you had the duration, but also how to read the defense, know what's happening. Those tools, he started to create his own pattern to deal with that, right? And so once you create your own pattern, you bring something to people who's never been there before, and you know something never been there before. When I met Jim Rohn, personal development teacher, he changed my life radically. When I was 17 years old, he...
عشر تحزواز تاي نيجاتيف سايد
excellent actually style حراي
my mom came home
and
I was always trying to earn some extra the weekends I wasn't doing the job. I said okay I'll do it. My dad said yeah, I don't know what he did. He used to be such a loser, now he's so successful. right? So when I went to this guy, hard worker, so I worked really hard, and so he starts asking me questions. I said, I want to ask you questions. And I said, you know, my father said you used to be such a loser. You're so successful. How did you change your life? I'm just a kid. I wasn't trying to be funny. He goes, well, it's true. And he said, well, what changed my life is I went to a seminar. 3 hours, and he told me the whole thing. He's coming up to an event pretty quick. I said, well, how much is it? He said, $35. It'd be like $250.
1, 2, 3. The more numbers
I go,
okay.
I can't do that. He goes, well then, waste a few decades. He goes, no, you were
number 3. Number 2, I
wrestled with this like it was the biggest decision of my life. And I heard this man speak. He said some simple things like, for things to change, you gotta change. For things to get better, you gotta get better. At the end, I was so excited. I want to come work for you. I want to learn this. He turned to me and said, look, kid, he goes, you know, if you want to come work for me, you gotta go through
Diaspora አይደለም ኣብዚ ገዛ ጀሚርካ
it was like $1,200.
أبونا إحنا نقول نخيل.
At the time, sleeping in my car.
Okay, so let's go.
My dad left.
Let's go.
And then she wasn't going back in that place. I can't do this. And then somebody said, you know, decide. He goes, some people have to survive, some people succeed. Decide which one you want. If you're ready next Saturday, a week from Saturday, he goes, I'm starting the training and you've enjoyed it, but if you don't have the money for it, you won't have time. And I remember leaving, this guy just wants my money, he's such a jerk, and I was so angry.
Let's go.
In my head, I was like, he's right. I've always gotten what I had to have. I haven't had enough. And so I started going to banks. I walked in this place, 5 banks turned down. This woman was persuadable and sweet, and her name was Mrs. Williams. This woman looks at me and she goes, the bank's not going to loan you this money. She's like my 5th bank. And I said, you don't understand. So this kind of I think we do something. I like it to be something good. I want to talk about but if the bank will lend the money,
أنت أبغى تقول اسمع بين ورا وقطع
she wasn't quite ready for that. I went to the Jim Rohn seminar. I went to work for him. The first question that I finally got a private note from him that I asked was, I have 4 fathers. They are all good men. They're all good hard. How come we never had no food? I said, I looked around this hedge fund guy made $1 billion a year. I said, that is so unjust. What does that mean? Question. Is it possible for someone to make twice as much money in the same industry? 4 times? 10 times? How? He goes, you have to become more valuable. He goes, if you go to work at McDonald's, you get this tiny little income. It's not made to be an ideal job. It's a first-time job. Anyone can learn to do it in 2 hours. I've been obsessed about it ever since. And that changed everything in my life. My whole life became, how do I add more value? And so today, I have 21 companies, and we're doing $12 billion in business across almost every industry you can imagine that I'm a part of. And I couldn't run one company in the start and make it successful at $300,000 a year. For revenue. All that became in every industry, and I have a lot of them. I'm the number 1 in the industry. It's because I'm obsessed with adding value, and so I think that piece is what's missing also from our youth. You say, you think I'm here to get something. The life is calling you. What are you going to give? Not just what you want to give, but what people need. And so my focus is I give people what they want. They want to make more money, they want a better relationship. But my goal is so I can give them what they need, which is a life that has more meaning. And that's one that goes beyond yourself. It can be a stressful period,
yes, to say the least. I think algorithms are actually making our online experiences more stressful. I think 100%. Because, they're designed to retain our attention, and the best way to retain our attention is probably fear. And I think this with myself, I found myself watching all these fucking short form videos, that are just like, they feel like they're at some level frying something, depleting something in me. But it's designed, the algorithm, just to serve me up the next one that's going to hold me or scare me or whatever. So in such a world where the algorithms are probably going to, you know, in the online world, especially for younger kids, it's going to really, it's going to be better at taking hold of us. What are the tools that I need to deal with this stress and this angst?
First step for me would be take 15 minutes out of your day and go for micro-learning. Like decide you're going to learn what matters, right? About yourself, about AI. Most people are scrolling at the internet. Give me 15 minutes to learn something, a new language, philosophy, history, AI, something pragmatic, something that's valuable. It's just getting people to have some habits that, you know, the 1% growth metaphor, right? You know, 27 times at the end of the year, it's like, it's pretty simple. All we have to do is create a new direction. If you try to do it one giant step, it's overwhelming for people. That's the secret to life is chunky. Think of it this way. Some people never work out.
Nationally, locally,
easily. So I'll say to them, why don't you work out? And they'll give me all the reasons, and I'll say, but you know, I'd have to go to the gym. And I say, okay, well, tell me what's entailed. And they'll go, I gotta look up where the gyms are, and then I gotta drive to each of the gyms, and then I gotta park the car each place and find it, and then I gotta get out, and then, you know, get a pass, and then they take you on the tour, and then they sit you down and sell stuff to you, and they got it back in the car, and you gotta drive things. And then when you do it, so you sign up, there you go, and you gotta check in and take off all your clothes, and then you go work out, it's sweaty, you gotta wipe other people's sweat off, and then afterwards you gotta go to a shower, and your hair is messed up, your makeup, you gotta start all over, and everything else, and then you gotta get the thing, and you gotta back out. It's like, it's too much work. What's that to eat? Oh, you just go. A chunk eating is one thing. A chunk working out is 29,000 things, right? So if you chunk too big, try to do everything it's overwhelming. And if you chunk it too small, it's overwhelming. So there's a different size for different things. And if we want to learn and grow, which is what the secret is to the future, is to become a learning machine about what matters. Most people major in minor things. They know more about some actresses or actors' love life than they do, or their skin regimen, than they do about their own values and needs. And what makes them today, you can learn from the smartest people on earth. They're available. They're available online. They're your coaching. They're everywhere. There's zero limit, except you're deciding to be a creator and not a maintainer. So you're deciding, I'm not just going to manage my life, I'm going to design and create something because the tools are available everywhere. And so I'm just wondering.
I have a couple of questions based on what you just said. The first one started at the top was around, you talked about pattern recognition and utilization from that section was, is there a way to get better at pattern recognition?
Okay, so it's like, if I'm fearful, that's the pattern I'm missing. That's something that gave me some history to understand that this isn't random. Like, you know, people say, I don't drink, I get really angry, whatever. You don't read every moment. You don't smoke every moment. What are the triggers that you use?
And do you recommend people write? How do they raise their self-awareness enough to start spotting these patterns?
I believe in diverse. I believe in journals. You'll do that to guide yourself. Yes, it's more than that. You have to not only make the distinction, but you also have to have a different state to it. I know. I lose weight. I want a diet. I'm going to work out. Can I do it? No.
You're fighting it.
I'm not to do it. And most people don't figure out what to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the wrong sequence. Because when you think about what to do, if you've never done it before, you feel uncertain, you don't follow through. You have done it before, but you don't feel strong enough. So I tell people, if you want to break through, it's three things. Strategy, state. Most people, if they want to have a breakthrough, they want to change their body, want to change their life, they look for how to do it. And that's natural.
فزي ما حكم زلنا يا اخوينا مش حاسب
numbers to a phone for someone and you dial the wrong order, you don't reach somebody. Or the vault, you got the right numbers, wrong order, the vault doesn't open. Why are so many people overweight in this country? 60% of the population is overweight. How is that possible? Is it because what it takes to be fit and strong is so incredibly complex? No. Only 1% knows. No. It's super expensive. No, you have to work not to know. So how is that the problem? So I say strategy, story, state. That's how you have a breakthrough. Yes, I'm a strategist. The right strategy can save you 10 years. I love that. It's fun. But if I start with a strategy, you'll listen and go, yeah, that's cool, and you won't do it. The real problem is the story you have. The story you have is, I've tried everything. The story you have, nothing works. The story has, all the good ones are gone, and I'm gay and they're not, or they're gay and I'm not. The story is the belief you told yourself over and over, because belief is the invisible force that controls everything in your life. And when you have a belief that you honed because you're fearful, and you've never done this before, then I can show you exactly how to do it, and you'll say it doesn't work, I've tried that. Yeah, how many times, how hard, how many minutes, right? But what's behind the story is your state, your mental emotional state. If I said to you, I am going to lose 12 pounds in the next 6 weeks, it is non-negotiable. Here's what I do, this and this and this and this. You think I'm going to do it? Yes. You bet your ass I'm going to do it. Right? You can feel the state. So people are usually trying to figure out how to do something, and they got a story about it, when what they need first is the state. When you go to the right state, how many of this happen where you get in the flow and something comes through, you're hitting a tennis ball, or you're doing, or you're speaking, and at the end of it, you're like, that was pretty awesome. I did that. That was pretty awesome, right? You're in a peak state. I put people in a peak state while they're doing the things I'm talking about.
So what do you do right before you come out on stage, and what can anyone listening at home do before a big meeting, a big moment in their life, or really like on a daily basis to configure our state?
The first thing I do in my little daily routine is I use the jacuzzi for a moment to open my body up and everything else, and then I go on a cold plunge. And I've been doing that for 18 years now. But I go in that cold plunge, and the secret though is I don't negotiate with myself. I go in that plunge for health purposes, because it floods your body completely. The real value is mental discipline. I don't get in when we just I dunk under, I jump in my head, I go under. And I don't stand there. I don't stand and go, oh, I feel cold right now, or wait. I've trained my brain. When I say go, we go. I've done that for decades. And so I'm not in the place when I say go somewhere else, my brain obeys. I don't let these stories in my head back and forth trying to have a conversation with myself, trying to convince myself to do something I've decided. Right? So decision point is everything. So I've trained myself to do it, but also it produces a massive change. It is not comfortable. I don't think there's been a morning in my life that I look forward to doing it, but it changes you. So that's one thing. The thing I do before I go on stage, I have a routine of how I shift my body. I have a prayer that I do, which is use me, Lord, and I picture being to serve as many human beings as possible. I see them not only where they are now, I see where they're going to be by the end of what I'm done. And then I make this radical shift in my body. I make these moves and explosive breath, and then I storm out there. And then I've taken myself, imagine on a 0 to 10 to a 20 of intensity. So now I can drop down to a 9, feels like I'm very relaxed. But I've got a lot more gears in me than you know. And that's how I can project to the guy at the top of the stadium and hold him for 12 hours, you know, who wouldn't sit for a 3-hour movie someone spent $300 million on.
And do you think a lot about your diet and nutrition?
I'm totally committed to that, and I also train like a crazy person, and I do hyperbaric oxygen. You name it. I'm a biohacker, and I'm committed to that. I have a whole company that does it for people as well. So I've always done that because I've had to perform, and I'm 66, going to produce results that were designed by a 25-year-old, right? But I'm stronger today than I was then. I got more aerobic capacity. I've got more muscle capacity. So, I mean, there's a limit, but I haven't found it yet.
If you follow me, you probably heard me talk about hiring more so than anything else. You probably see me on Behind the Diary, which is our other YouTube channel, talking about how obsessed I am with the hiring process. And this really brings me to a recommendation that I'd love to give you, which is to check out our sponsor, LinkedIn, if you're having hiring difficulties. Their new AI assistant filters out applications for you based on the criteria you've set for that specific job, surfacing only the best matches. That way, you're not left having to hunt through a mountain of different resumes. It'll recommend 25 candidates daily who fit what you're looking for that you can then invite to apply for the role. LinkedIn is where we go to find the long-term A players that I have in my team. In fact, employees hired through LinkedIn are 30% more likely to stick around for at least a year compared to those hired through other job networks. Hire right the first time by posting your job for free at linkedin.com/DOAC. Then use the promotion feature to access LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant. That's linkedin.com/DOAC. Terms and conditions apply. In a world of challenging meaning, where a lot of my viewers are struggling with me, one of the things I've noticed is that it appears, especially with young men who you talked about earlier, thing from what I've observed in my own life. I've talked to mine who were very individualistic. They were living the dream in any way that you might define it. You know, they had money, they had freedom, they had no boss, no dependence, no partner, and suddenly you see their life turn into what looks like depression, a form of depression, an absence of meaning in their lives. And I wanted just to throw this out there because we are in a society that's, I think, increasingly encouraging independence. And there's upsides to independence, of course, we all understand those. But I wondered if there's a sort of a double-edged sword here when you kind of said it earlier about making the world more about just me, and I. And in a world of abundance, I imagine many more people are going to choose to make it about I, because they can. I could put a headset on, but theoretically, never leave my house. Puts the food in my mouth. I could have some sex robot that just gets me off. Money comes in my account by UBI.
The reason your friends got depressed, I've had this happen, I've seen this as well. Most of my friends are older than I am. Usually, for some reason, I gravitated to men that were 18, 20 years my senior, who were brilliant. And learning from them and seeing where they're going in their life and so forth. But I watched somebody sell a company and make $1.2 billion. And they were happy for like a month maybe, and they'd call me, let's go to this, go to that. And I'm trying to go for something. I got a lot of companies, I got a lot of kids, I got a lot of things, right? And it's like eventually we all want to get back to the game. Because we have 6 years. Certainty, uncertainty. Just think about this. Certain every moment of your life. You know what someone's going to say, and I'm sure you've had this. You know what they're going to say before they're going to say it. But if you know what's going to say, what they're going to say, what's going to happen, what's going to happen every moment, every day. In the beginning, it'd be cool. But after a while, what would you feel? Bored. Out of your mind, bored. So God, in her infinite wisdom, gave us uncertainty. We need variety. We need surprise. So I ask people, you got a stadium, 15,000 people, and I say, how many of you love surprises? I go, bullshit. You love the surprises you want. The surprises you don't want, you call problems. We need those too, right? Third need is significance. They need to feel unique. You need to feel special. They need to feel important. Who do you think has that need?
But all of us.
Everyone. Now, some people, like Donald Trump, is pretty obvious, right? And some people, though, it's like, I don't want significance. I don't want to be unique. I don't want to be special. That's only because they feel they get special to get attacked. Right? Some people do it by earrings. Some people by tattoos in certain areas. Some by knowing bot scores about a sport more than anybody else. Some people by their art. Some people by the way they dress. Some people by their money. Some people being more generous. Everyone finds a way. Okay. However, some people do it through violence. Okay. So let me give you another seed. Why has violence always been with us? If I feel I'm insignificant, and this is, by the way, even more powerful in most men's cases because of the nature of testosterone. Right? Testosterone is about significance. It's about being dominant. Right? So if I'm in a community and I'm driving by or I'm walking by this community and it's a tough community, a tough environment, somebody comes up and puts a gun to my head. I've never met him in my life. Why? Well, first of all, how certain do you think that person is you're going to respond when they put a gun to your head? Before, you may not have paid attention to them, but you're going to pay attention now. How significant are they in your life on a 0 to 10 scale with that gun to your head? They're the most significant thing on earth. And by the way, every time it's a little different, they give variety. Anytime you meet a belief, an emotion, or a behavior meets at least 3 of these 6 needs, you become addicted to that thought, that feeling, or that behavior. It could be a positive one or a negative one, but you will become addicted to it. So violence connects to those three, but you can also get significance by tearing other people down. So why do we have so many warriors in their little house, doing their little virtual signal, doing what they're doing? Because they've never done anything with their life. And it used to be, I'd have to confront you. Now I don't confront you, don't even know who I am. I can say all this terrible shit, and I'm sitting in my little place and make myself feel significant because I'll make you smaller, I'm bigger. It's why social media is so terrible. There's great things to show us what's so terrible about it. It's like people now can meet the need for significance without much effort. No consequence. You come and say this directly to me, you're going to pay a price of some sort, right? That's no longer there. Now, fourth need, connection and love. Everybody wants love. Most people settle for connection because they've had love at one point and it was so painful when it ended, they decided to settle for connection. How can you get it? You can get it by going for a run and feeling connected to God of the universe, nature. You can get it by prayer. You can get it by being with some friends. You can get it by making love. You can get it by getting a dog. If nothing else, get a dog, don't get a cat. Cats leave. Dogs, when you leave for 2 minutes, it's like you've been gone for 6 months. So you feel very loved. There's a million ways to feel connection and love. Some are positive, some are negative. Some people get connected by their problems. They're always comparing problems. You ever seen two people comparing, but I have this one, you think I have mine. They're arguing over significance and they're connecting through their problems, right? So the biggest drug on earth is not cocaine, it's not fentanyl, it's not dope, it's problems. Because the deepest fear everybody has is they're not enough. And our deeper fear is if we're not enough, we won't be loved. I've never met a human being. I've worked with kings, queens, winners of everything in a Magic Academy Awards, scientists. There's some point in which you might feel for someone you care about most that you're not smart enough, young enough, old enough, pretty enough, funny enough, rich enough, playful enough, something enough. And it is the worst feeling on earth. To feel like you are unloved and worthless is internal death. So people come up with a story. It's just because I have, I have this dyslexia, that's why. Or it's because I was raped, and maybe they really were rapists. I'd like to kill the guy that hurt them, but that's not what they're feeling right now. It's because they're fearful. And so if you have a big problem, that's why I'm not where I want to be. It's not that I'm not enough, I'm not worthy of love. And so people use problems as a way to connect. Now these first four needs, certainty, uncertainty, you can see how they'd have a conflict. But have you ever rented a movie you've already watched?
Yeah.
Get a life. I have to. Why would we do that? Because we're certain it's good, but it's been long enough that we hope there's a variety. We won't remember it all, have a variety once again. So you can meet multiple needs through the same task potentially. But certainty, uncertainty, significance, here you are in Hollywood. Why do people come to Hollywood? To be famous, right? They know what that really is. If they did, they would move away from it. But significance is what they're looking for. But what they really want is love. That's what everybody wants. But you know what the problem is? They think if they're significant, everyone's going to love them. And I get these clients, without mentioning any names, the biggest names in Hollywood, the biggest names in sports. And you know what their number one thing is? They're angry. Why are they angry? Because they thought if I'm significant, everybody loved me, and now they go, people rip me online, they interrupt me with my family trying to have dinner. They don't give a shit about me. They just want a picture, they just want this, and if I don't do it, they write that about me.
They care about themselves.
They care about themselves, and so what happened is, I thought by being significant, I would be loved, and now I'm super significant, and I'm not loved, I'm attacked. Because the more you try and push your significance on someone, the less significant they make you. If you love someone, there's nothing more significant than that. True love, not a trade. Not I'll love you if you give me something. Genuine love. And if that happens, you become significant in people's lives. But that's the number one challenge in this community. So significance, love, have attack. If you're significant, you're the individual. But I need to be connected. Well, if I'm so connected, who am I? And that's the secret to it all of the 502 needs. These are the spiritual needs, not religious, but spiritual. And that is, we all must grow. When you grow, you feel alive. And if you don't grow, you start to die inside. And this isn't my rule. Everything in the universe grows or dies, as you well know. This is the law of the universe. If your relationship's not growing, it's dying. Don't bullshit yourself. If your business is not growing, you're a businessman, you know, it is not growing, it is dying. You better do something now, right? But we grow, so we have something finally to give, which is where meaning comes in life. When I grow, I have something more to give, and if I can give that to someone, then my life is more meaningful than just the pleasure of, I have the machine that, makes me feel pleasure in certain parts of my body and feeds me and all the things you talked about. If you went to Vegas and you pull down that little jukebox thing, and you get boom, 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 bars, 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 what's your reaction?
Amazing.
Amazing. Wow, isn't it? And you pull it a second time, and you get it again.
Amazing.
And you do it a third time, you get it again.
That's amazing.
And now you do 100 times.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And now that was the job. You do this, you get a predictable outcome. The fact that you don't know what the outcome is, that's the jackpot in it. They get someone hooked on anything. That's what makes it significant, because it's scarce, right? So when you do this, if I said to you, Osama bin Laden, what would you say is top need driving force? Was it certainty? Was it variety? Was it significance? Was it love? Was it growth or contribution?
I'd say probably significance.
100%. He was one of, I forget the number, 27 children. Literally, he was 27 children. He was a nobody. He took his dad's money. He was not very religious. And he went to Afghanistan and he used his money and became significant. Not by shooting people, he provided resources. And then all of a sudden his entire life changed. How do you know? The most significant thing is he sent other people to die. He didn't go to die. He sent other people. Now, his number one drive of significance and his way of doing it was get other people to die. On that same day, 9/11, there were men and women in the fire department, the police department, who went into those buildings knowing a good chance they would die to save a stranger. Also driven by significance, but with different rules. If I die a hero, my life is meaningful. And that's a meaningful life. So people can even have the same need structure, but their beliefs about how to meet those needs are the most important thing. And the needs of connection and love, growth and contribution have no downside. Certainty if you have certainty as your number one thing, you're always trying to keep life the same way, and you're going to be stressed out, especially when you're going to get really stressed out. If you're a variety person, you can have a lot of fun, but eventually it's not much variety. The life you describe for all these people, now they have the money, they have the sex, they have this, they have the woman, they have the notoriety, they have the Academy Award. It all gets old. Because if we're not growing, it doesn't matter. How many people do you know that were famous, who were rich, who had supposedly everything people want, and took their own life? Why did they take their life? They stopped growing and stopped having a sense of meaning by giving. I can show you example after example of people. So these need structures in the new world have to be met. We can meet certainty right now very easily by going online and controlling our communication. That's why people text. That's much easier than communicating back and forth with someone, right? We can get variety by going online so easily now. We can get significance, tear other people down, or work on something significant, we think, right? AI, explore the world. We can get a sense of connection through people online. Or through a robot, or these days people have an AI and they talk to it like it's their boyfriend or girlfriend because it totally affirms them. If they say something idiotic and they tell you you're so smart, right? You're better, right? But you're missing growing and contributing. If you're missing growing and contributing, you will not feel fulfilled. You, as a person, if I've read your books correctly, and I didn't read them all, but I got pieces of it, probably the best lesson you got early in life was there's the science of achievement, there's the art of fulfillment. They're two different skills. If you want an extraordinary life, you need both. You go to the East, they're really great about fulfillment. They can live in poverty and feel totally happy and connected to God of the universe. You come here and people can have incredible external life, but their internal life often not so nice. They get really pissed off because they didn't get their special sauce on their burger, right? It's a different world. I believe you can merge those two. How? You master the science of achievement. There are rules to achieve as you will. I wrote a little book with 33 rules in it. Me too. Right? So I know those rules. I know books on finance, 3 of them. I want an answer. Is it still possible to win the financial game? Because so many young people think it can't be done. So I interviewed 50 of the greatest financial people alive today. All started with nothing, all billionaires, nobody from the Lucky Sperm Club. They all did it on their own. Ray Dalio, Carl Icahn, Warren Buffett, all of them. And guess what I found? They're all different, but I'm a modeler. I found the strategies that are common between them. And I applied them. I taught other people, wrote the books, but I applied them myself. And that's how my businesses and my life grew geometrically. I modeled, I didn't have to learn on my own experience.
I've got to ask you some questions here on those 2 points. So on these 6 needs, because I also want to ask you about the 50 rich people that you've interviewed for the books. But on those 6 needs, when you look at someone like me, and you look at the broad world that I'm heading towards as a 30-year-old man, what configuration of these needs?
Well, I'll tell you what creates all the pain first.
Okay, please.
So if I go to a room and I'll say, I explain these needs like I have. I know this is kind of lecture here. I didn't mean to do that, but I just want to share because I'm so passionate about it. And I'll get people to understand what they are, and then I ask them, I want you to write down what you think your top 2 needs have been, not in what you want, but in the way you've been living. Because people may want love, but they think they have to be significant before they can get it. Or they might want love, but they want certainty that love will never go away. You follow me? And so that modifies things. And I'll say, so the way you've lived, what would have been the top 2? And then I say, I want you to write a paragraph about what's the downside of having that one so high on your list. And it's amazing. So then I say, now write what you think your list top 2 should be to go to the next level of your life. Okay? Let's have you do that. What do you think your top 2 needs are? I see you doing it already, which I love. I love how active you are. So what would you say your top 2 have been up until now?
I think if I'm being completely honest.
Yes. By the way, I want to thank you because I watched several of your pieces, and you are. You're not bullshitting about it. So good.
There's just no, I'm going to die someday, so there's no, even if being honest makes me look bad, it isn't because of course, like significance, of course.
Yes.
Especially from where I came from, that was the big problem, was being different and not in a good way.
That's right.
And then I would say, interestingly, it feels like uncertainty and significance are really, really high for me because for some reason, I have a huge appetite for uncertainty.
Disruption. You're wired that way in a beautiful way. It also leads to learning for you. That's one of your vehicles for learning, is it not?
Yeah. Dropping out of school, stopping going to school when I was younger, dropping out of university, quitting jobs where I shouldn't have quit them after a month.
Which, by the way, if certainty was your top need, would you have done that?
No,
completely. So you understand this. I'm talking about the 6 controlling forces of your life. There's a million stories about your life, but there's only 6 reasons you do anything.
Yeah.
You have all these stories with reasons. So what would you say would be the downside of that? By the way, there are upsides, right?
Yeah, that was really great. Yeah.
We're sitting here because of the upsides. Your desire for significance made you look for significant ideas, significant application, succeed in business.
The downsides of wanting significance is
at the top, not because it's valuable. Significance is valuable. Period. Everyone should want it, but it's the sequence. So if it's the top of your list, what's the downside?
For me, it costs me connection and love and all these and some of these other opportunities.
That's correct. Which is what you really want underneath it all.
Yeah.
Your desire for significance really came from the fact that you were not loved and connected by people. People judge you the color of your skin. They put you in a community where you were different. You were outside so it's like, I'll show them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a very healthy response. Right? But now at this stage of your life, this is the gift that you have now at this stage of your life, right? You're entering this 2nd season, right?
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to be driven by that anymore. You already are significant. Like, what more are you going to do that's not significant? I'm sure you'll find more significant things to do, but you've done so many significant things. You've helped millions of people, I'm sure, through your insights, your elements. You've written books, you've built businesses, and you're only 33 years old. That's pretty effing awesome. Right? So now you get the leisure of being able to sit back and say, now with a greater level of consciousness, what would ideally be my top 2? What would you say your top 2 need to be to have the next level of your life, to go to the next level for you?
It was really easy for me to answer this question. Connection and love and the need to grow and give.
Yes. Yeah. Well, those are 2 different ones. Contribution, growth and contribution. Of those 2, which one do you think is even more important for you?
Oh, God, of those 2.
Yeah. It's hard because one you can see as a vehicle to the other.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand that, but I'm asking a different question. I'm saying which is more important to feel, experience?
It would be contribution.
Yes. So for you, you're saying love and contribution?
I'm saying love and contribution.
In what order?
Love first and then contribution.
That's a good choice.
I tried in my head. I tried the other way around, and I thought, no. It's almost like monks have said to me many years ago that you need to fill up your cup so you have something to pour out for others.
Yes.
And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking it doesn't work the other way around.
That was a wise choice. Most people wouldn't make that choice. For most of my life, was contribution first and then love. It was my way of earning love. And so, like, I'd be on stage for 13 hours, and this is before people had phones, and everybody wants to sign something and give me a hug. I work my guts out, and then that was my take it in time. So I'd be there, finish at 1:30 or 2 in the morning, and I'd be there till 3:30 until every person had an autograph, got their hug and everything else. Now it's pictures a lot faster, but that was my life. I know my wife, Sage, changed my entire life. She didn't care that I was Tony Robbins. She just loved me, and all of a sudden, I never thought 12,000, 15,000, 20,000 people of love pouring at you could compare, one person compare, but way beyond that. So now I finish it, when I give my guts, I go to 1 in the morning, but then I get up and I leave. Right? I take pictures in the middle of the day, but then I leave at that time and I go and be with my wife. And it switched where love is there, because think about this, if contribution is first, and this is what a lot of people do, then it's a way to protect yourself from feeling rejected. Because if I'm always giving to you, truly generously, over beyond what you can imagine, and then you treat me like shit, well, then you're clearly above, right? I don't have to think I'm not enough. So, but the more honest way is love, because if it's love first, now I'm giving because I want to, not because I have to. Does that make sense? So tell me how you think that would change your life if you made love and contribution your top two and the way you actually live. Because you already value love and contribution, but if they were the highest priority, how would it shift your life for the better in your mind?
I feel like I would be significantly less stressed.
Correct. You're absolutely correct. So when I ask the audience this, I have them write down, and I've got 15,000 people, and I'll say, okay, how many have certainty on your list? And they've come to an event that has a firewalk, right? And you get like 50-60% of the rooms in their top two of their list, right? Because in our culture, it's still the most important one. It's the foundational. It's the one that's going to have the biggest problem with AI, because they want things to stay the same, and life isn't. The only thing that's for certain is change, and now rapid change, like geometrically rapid change. Okay, variety, small number, significance through the roof. Social media has made significance disproportionate in our culture, and that's why people are so unhappy. You used to maybe compare most yourself to your neighbors or your friends. Now you compare yourself to billionaires, of which there's only 3,000, right? And so you're like, my life's not that great anymore. Or you compare it to pictures that have been doctored. A friend of mine owns a gym, and he says, so you can't believe it. Women and men come in here who are influencers, they lay everything out, and then they do their video, and they never work out. They're 27 years old, they don't have to work out for shit. I mean, it's like they do a minimum workout, they got jeans, they're just fine. They don't even do the workout. It's all pictures, it's all bullshit, right? He goes, it makes me so mad, because, real people, they're working hard to make something happen. So that's why people get so, women especially, depressed, comparing themselves to images that are not even real, right? It's totally absurd. So when I do it with the audience, though, certainty and significance is 80% of the room. Right? There's growth people, contribution people, but that's the dominant force because of our cultural conditioning, and because certainty is basically a survival tool. Then I've asked them to do what you did, and I say, okay, tell me. I don't tell them anything, like I didn't tell you anything. And then I say, okay, who has certainty on their list now? And in a room of 15,000 people, 12,000 people, there might be like 5. Okay, there's 5 people that really don't like pain, so I point that out to them, and they look at me, and then I go, okay, how many got, variety? It'll be more variety. How many got significance? The number plummets, just like it did with you. People, I didn't tell them anything. Their own intelligence knows this, right? How many got love? Through the roof, right? Contribution through the roof. Growth through the roof. Those are the ones that expand. And then we show people how to condition that, though, because it's one thing to know it. It's another thing to start training it in your body to make those priorities happen in your life, right? Just like any other habit, working out or anything else. You have to build the neurology of that. You have to practice putting yourself in those states over and over again where you make the value based on love, or you make the value based on contribution. See, before, you do something to be significant and you miss out on some of the love. Now, love is probably always what you wanted. That's why you can make that decision so quickly, right? But now I'm going to go for that first, not this circuitous route. And by the way, you will still be significant. You'll be loving first, and you'll be contributing, and that will make you significant.
Is it really possible to change like that deeply?
No, not at all. I've never been able to do that. And
I
my 49th year, I've never seen that happen.
No, I was thinking really, really deeply about what you were saying, and I was thinking there will be some people that are listening, and I think there was maybe a part of me, my conscious, that's like, because that's a journey I've never gone on before. I've never shifted from the...
Well, you're not going to do it by discussion. You have to have leverage.
What is that? How do
leverage is you have to have something you value more than your present way of doing things. Leverage can be pain or pleasure, right? So,
like my fiance.
Your fiance. I understand how you got to LA. A little leverage, right? Her love, her happiness, her joy. Oh, that's beautiful.
That's a fair view.
My girl.
You and Sage.
That's awesome. You're good at putting people to stay with their pictures. That's impressive.
It's a beautiful photo.
Yeah, I love her so much. And we've been together 25 years. I love her more today than ever before. She is a force in nature, this woman. Really, really great. But yes, she's leveraging my life. My youngest daughter's massive leverage. She knows, 4.5 years old. It's beautiful. But I'll give you an example. I worked with a woman one time on stage, and She was a colon therapist and vegan, and but she was always sick because she was so stressed all the time, trying to be perfect at everything. There's a constriction in her body, right? And the level of stress was just ridiculous, right? So I was trying to get her to have some other options about what to do without boring the whole story. I'm looking for leverage always. That's how you get someone to make a change. You got to make change a must, not a should. Not me making it to you. If I put a gun to your head, that's leverage. But some people would rather die than bend to your will. You have to find out what moves that person. It's unique for everyone, not what motivates them. I hate the word motivation. I've never used it. I want to know your drives. Look, if you're fat, you're motivated to eat. I want to know what's underneath. I want to know what the drives are. So this woman, I'm trying to help her make changes, and I show her these things and see the consequences, and she wouldn't change. So finally, I said, I gotta push this lady. It's like, I said, how long, I wouldn't tell her this, I asked, I said, how long will the person with a level of stress with these things you're doing and these ailments, how long will a person like that live if they don't change? Probably to 35. How old are you? Okay, she's going to change that. Maybe she's going to do it, right? That's the leverage. She's got to change. I can't change. I just can't. It's just how my life is. I said, well, this session is on videotape, you know? And I said, how do you think your daughter's going to feel when she's carrying your coffin and she knows that you knew you could shift this and you didn't? This is pretty intense. I mean, she thinks she's going to die. If she didn't do it, she probably could. So I'm picking up big leverage, right? Because I know that's horrible, but I can't change. And part of my head, I'm like, oh shit, she's never change here. What the hell's going to change her? I said to her, I said, what if her new mother is a meat eater? And she exploded on stage. That is not happening. I will not make this happen. I mean, she went berserk. And she goes, fine, I'm changing this now. Like, there is always leverage. There is something that will make change a must and not a should. Change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of strong enough reasons. Of motive. If you got strong enough reasons, you can do just about anything. But if you have weak reasons, you're not going to do anything. So the fact that you understand this is our discussion. In an event, you'd be in a rather peak state, and I take you through a process of consequence, where you will envision what the consequences are, and then you can make that shift. And you still got to condition it. This specific change is the hardest one.
I think a lot of people might say, I was thinking forward in life events to come, and becoming a father.
Yes,
is often
that will do that. Will absolutely shift a lot of people. Becoming a father, getting married, and falling in love. There are certain events. Losing people will make you reevaluate things. Hitting a birthday, you're 33. When you hit your 40th birthday, I'm sure you don't think it will be any different. I remember people telling me that. But you tend to reevaluate for some weird reason or culture, and after 40, usually a 5-year or a 50-year or 60-year, it's just part of the way we look at life. There's a process you go through, and there'll be different things that trigger you. But when you want a real lasting change, you have to change the driving force. When we change these, it's changing your values. So again, think about how your brain is a predictor, and it's trying to close the gap between what it's predicting what reality is. When it's not working, it looks for an answer. When you get to the point where your old strategy doesn't work enough and you have enough pain, you will search for something new. And if at that time we can give you something that actually works, you'll grab it. It's like if you're drowning in a sea of confusion and I throw your life raft in, and I'm not going to go, I don't like the color. You're going to grab a hold and it comes into your unconscious. And the other last thing I'd say about that is, it's also about going beyond your conscious mind, right? You ever try to do something and then sabotage yourself? It's just consciously you want one thing, subconsciously another. I believe all lasting change happens in an altered state. When I say an altered state, it's called hypnosis. I tell people I'm a de-hypnotist. Most people walk around in hypnosis. People tell me, you can't hypnotize me, and they're in a hypnotized state in that moment. Do you ever drive your car and then something catches your attention and you stay focused on it too long, and also you realize, holy shit, who's been driving the car? You have experience. That was a hypnosis state. Hypnosis just means you're inside, not outside most of the time. And in a hypnotic state, what goes in deeper than just in a consciousness state. That's why I like doing storytelling. And my wife and I, there's certain things in life that just shouldn't happen that are inhuman, and trafficking is one of them. We had a friend, his child was taken to traffic. It was the most brutal thing. So I got us involved, and so now we've we've contributed to 72,000 children being saved. I've gone out on some of these undercover with scars on my face and elements. It's the most brutal thing you can possibly imagine. But I tell you this because when you witness certain things in life that are so intense, they alter you, they change you, they change what you value, they change what you make important in your life. And so when I say to people, you want your life to keep growing, keep putting yourself in new environments. Keep getting around things you're not used to. Let something hit you. Like, people don't know their passions because they keep going and doing the same things. It's like, get around where it's better and see what hits you. And something's going to strike you. Something's going to wake you up. Something is going to make you feel more, desire more, want to give something to life as opposed to just live your life. Because the life you described to those people is predictable. You get familiarized, even pain. I mean, you look at people in Auschwitz, you know, Man Search for Meaning is one of my favorite books. Have you read it? Yeah, and about the rights of making the movie, right?
Oh, really?
The reason I was telling you about the fun the kids is I made The Sound of Freedom. Did you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, so
incredible.
And we beat Disney that week, and people thought it would never happen, right? But that movie changed people radically, woke them up, brought resources to the table, has created a real shift. Man Search for Meaning, I think you did that as well. But in those places, they get habituated to the pain. You get habituated to pain or pleasure. That's why we've got to grow. And when we grow, we get that life cycle. We feel more alive, and then we got something to share, and then we feel meaning, and it's like a virtuous cycle, and life gets better and better.
Last month, I told you about our sponsor, Function Health, and their team, who've developed a way of giving you a full 360 view of what's going on inside your body. They offer over 100 advanced lab tests, covering everything from hormones, toxins, inflammation, heart health, stress, and so much more. So Jack, who started this show with me, got his first blood draw done a couple of weeks ago, so I thought I'd let him tell you a little bit more about his experience.
This test really opened my eyes to personally what I should be doing with my health. I hear a lot of information in this podcast. I sit in every single recording, so to know how I can relate each one to me personally is super valuable. You sign up and you schedule your tests, and once you're done, you get a little report like the one I have here. I can see my in-range results, my out-of-range results, and there's a little AI function too, so if I have any questions about my out-of-range results, I can just go in there and ask it any question I want. And these tests are backed by doctors and thousands of hours of research.
You get an annual draw done and a mid-year follow-up. So if you want to learn more, head over to functionhealth.com/DOAC, where you can sign up for $365 a year. I'll put the link in the description below. It is just $1 a day for your health. You know, every once in a while you come across a product that has such a huge impact on your life that you'd probably describe it as a game changer. And I would say for about 35 to 40% of my team, they would currently describe this product that I have in front of me called Ketone IQ, which you can get at ketone.com, as a game changer. But the reason I became a co-owner of this company, and the reason why they now are a sponsor of this podcast, is because one day when I came to work, there was a box of this stuff sat on my desk. I had no idea what it was. Lily in my team says that this company has been in touch. So I went upstairs, tried it, and quite frankly, the rest is history. In terms of my focus, my energy levels, how I feel, how I work, how productive I am, game changer. So if you want to give it a try, visit ketone.com/Stephen for 30% off. You also get a free gift with your second shipment. And now you can find Ketone IQ at Target stores across the United States, where your first shot is completely free of charge. I was stunned at how big your business empire is. You know, even as you're speaking there, you're talking about movies that I've watched that I had no idea that you're involved in, and you're talking about all these other incredible things you've done. And yeah, your company's doing what, $12 billion in revenue annually?
Well, it's a group of companies, not
A
just
group
one.
of companies, yeah. And then earlier on, you said you'd spoken to these 50 very, very rich people in the pursuit of writing the books that you've written about wealth and finance and money. Pattern recognition.
That's right.
What is the pattern that you noticed in those people that you then applied to yourself? What is the pattern? You know, this is called the diary of a CEO. So I'm sure we have a lot of people that are thinking about building businesses, want to get financially free, especially in a world of AI where they're very uncertain about how they'll make money and how they'll provide stability to their family. What is the pattern that you have found in all of those people that you have met and interviewed? And I know you know some of the most wealthy people on earth because I know you coach a lot of them. I don't think people fully realize the significance of how many of the most influential people on planet Earth you have worked with and continue to work with. I found it hilarious reading that Bill Clinton called you the day before he was going to be impeached, telling you that he was going to be impeached and asking you what he should do.
Yeah. First, let's say what everybody makes the mistake on, the majority of people. We live in a free enterprise system, and we have kids that all think communism's great. I just want you to know, I went to the USSR when it was still the USSR. I was 24 years old. I was brought there because of my firewalking experience. And I went on a train from Moscow to Siberia and back for 2 weeks. On the train, we were all fed caviar and the most incredible meals, as were all the Russians on the plane. Right? We're supposed to be all equal, right? That's supposedly what communism is. Everything's fair for everybody. Every single town, we'd stop in the square and in the square there's a big building, and they wrapped around for about maybe a quarter of a mile. People standing in the freezing cold to get a quart of milk and a half a thing of bread. I left there and I became a capitalist. I didn't know what a capitalist was, but I knew I wasn't a communist, right? So people in our country are the free enterprise system, but they don't understand it. So what are they making a mistake of? They're consumers, they're not owners. We are a consumer society, and we've trained these kids to be consumers, adults as well. So I'll give you a simple example. I was trying to just give an example to a young kid the other day, so I actually did the math on it. You have an iPhone?
Yeah.
Okay, have you always had an iPhone?
Well, yeah, for the last decade or more, yeah.
Right. So iPhone's around for what, 18 years, 19 years? I went and did the numbers and found out what the cost was for every iPhone, added up. If you got an iPhone each time, somebody who's older did, you spent $22,000 and some change at the retail price. If you bought the stock, I went and saw what the stock was on the same day the thing came out, and you bought the stock, same amount of money of the stock.
Apple stock.
Apple stock. $326,000 right now. Instead of out 22 grand, you have 326. If you're going to use an Apple phone, I'm not saying just Apple specifically, I'm not making a recommendation. Why would you not own the company? Right? Because we don't teach people to think that way, and so now they think communism is going to be the answer. They don't understand what that really means. They have no clue. So you have to become an owner. That's what you have to do. Then the second piece is, when I interviewed all these people, I found 4 things with them. I found, number one, their focus didn't matter if they were a macro trader or if they were a value trader, or it didn't matter what their style was. The 4 things that had in common, I call them the core 4, was number one, they all were focused on not losing money. Most people are trying to make money, and the reason is they know if you lose, you lose, you got a $100,000 investment, and you lose 50%. How much do you have to grow your money to get your money back? And people will say 50%. No, you got to grow at 100%. Right? Get it?
Yeah.
Right? So they know that. So they're first making sure they don't. How do they do that? They do it by asset allocation, right? They all have different asset allocation strategies, which at the most basic level is you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Most people put all their money in their business or their house, right? They know that is the kiss of death. And so they look at how to divide their assets where they have a certain amount in a more secure environment, meaning not a lot of upside, but it's kind of the nest egg, and they have some that are more at risk, and there's different, and I learned what theirs are, and I taught those different ones. But the most valuable one, I know you know, because I read it in your book, and I was really impressed, asymmetrical risk reward. Their entire focus is not about taking risks. Right? There are only a few people. You think you're a billionaire because you took giant risks, right? No. Maybe some do, but they don't usually stay billionaires doing that, right? How do they do it? They figure out what's the smallest amount of risk with the most amount of upside that I can do. And so Paul Tudor Jones's approach was 5 to 1. If I'm going to risk $1, I want to be certain I'm going to make 5. You and I, most average people, would normally think, I used to think, 12, 15, 20% return, right? But here's how it works. If I risk $1 and I'm certainly going to make 5, and I'm wrong, I'm down 1. I can risk $1 and still make 4. I can be wrong 4 times out of 5 and still be okay. That's how those guys become billionaires. Asymmetrical risk reward. I was talking to a gentleman who in 2008, he took $25 million and turned in $2 billion in the worst economic time. He anticipated what was going to happen with real estate. Everybody thought it was going to keep going up. He used synthetic bets and bet against it, made $2 billion. Brilliant job. And I said to him, what is the things that's missing for investors? He goes, well, the smartest investors are usually the worst investors because they want absolute certainty. They know everything before they decide, and by that time the opportunity's gone. And he said that the most important key for him was asymmetrical risk reward. He said, I think he said he risked 6 cents for every $1. He could have been wrong a dozen times, but he wasn't. That's how he did it, right? And then the fourth one is the obvious one we both know, which is diversification. But this is the real key. You know Ray Dalio is, right?
Yeah, I've interviewed him actually.
Yeah, so Ray's a good friend. One of the questions I asked him was, if we had to reduce the single most important investment principle to know. I mean, you're the Da Vinci of investing. No one has made more money than you in this area. You know, and I said, what is it? Is there one? There's got to be one. And he goes, Tony, there is. He goes, I spent almost 9 years refining this, and it's so simple. The holy grail of investing is to find 8 to 12 uncorrelated investments that you feel strongly about. If you find 8 to 12 of those, you reduce your risk 80% and keep your upside. In fact, you slightly enhance your upside.
Uncorrelated.
Uncorrelated. Now, that's the hard part today, because so many markets are correlated.
What does uncorrelated mean for someone that doesn't?
Well, for example, stocks and bonds traditionally are thought of as uncorrelated, meaning, you know, stocks in a tough time, those are the ones, in a growing time, stocks are where you put your money, but bonds are to protect you when the market goes down. Unfortunately, doing most things like 2008 or 2020, they both go down at that time, but nobody talks about that. They just go, it's this weird thing, it happens regularly.
So things that don't move together.
That's right, they don't move together. Well, so much is tied together today. But the only way to really do it is you've got to have private investment, private equity, private credit, private real estate. You have to diversify beyond just stocks and bonds. And then you can get that across it by different industries, different elements. Because think about this, this will blow your mind. Private equity, basic private equity, not I interviewed 12 of the best in the world. Basic private equity has outproduced every stock market in the world for 40 years. Every single stock market in the world, every year for 40 years. Now, you don't have total liquidity, that's you're giving something up, but your returns are in a different place. They don't have to sell when things are tough, they take advantage. These are the smartest people out there, they're not just trying to get alpha, they're building value, right? They take a company, they put AI in it, they bring new people to it, and then they take it to the public, or in most cases they sell it to private companies. There are fewer public companies than ever. So I looked it up, and it was fantastic. See, the average S&P for 39 years was 9%. Nice return. If you put $1 million down, you'd have $28 million, 39 years later, without doing anything. But if you put it in basic private equity has averaged 15.7%. Think about the difference of compounding that every single year.
It's crazy.
Now it's worth $328 million. That's the difference between the same investment in public versus private. So it's finding these pieces, but when you can do 8 to 12 uncorrelated investments or more, reduce your risk by 80%. That's how you get higher returns and at the same time, because most people are behind.
You didn't come from a financial background.
No, I have no financial background.
You didn't study finance in university?
No.
So where did you learn all this stuff about finance?
By going to the very best on earth. Like, why would I go to university to a professor who's never done anything? I can go to 50 of the smartest people on earth, or in private equity, I went to 13 of the smartest ones, most successful in history.
Is your superpower learning?
Yes, I think that's what I tried to say to you from the beginning. That's what pattern recognition, pattern utilization, pattern creation is. If you don't learn at a rapid tempo in the world right now, you're cheating yourself of an extraordinary life.
Is there a tactic or a strategy to make me a better learner? Especially someone that does this podcast. I get to meet people like you, so I want to store everything in this time that we have.
Yes, I believe in immersion and spaced repetition. So I believe, like, did you take a language in school?
Oh God, yeah, German.
Can you speak it?
9.
That's right. So most people go to college or high school and college and they take a language, right? And 5 years later, 10 years later, can't speak a word. Right? Immersion is how you do it. So if I wanted to teach you a language and you had the time and money, I would take you to Italy and I would drop you in the middle of Rome and say, I'll see you in 90 days. Yeah. With no one to teach you, in 90 days, are you going to be speaking the language?
Better.
You're going to speak the language. You're going to know the nuances of the language. You're going to have a pitch and tone that's more there because it's how you learned originally, by total immersion. So the reason I do 12 hours a day for 4 days, 50 hours in a weekend, or 60 hours, and most people think I'll never do that, but they have the time of their life. So time disappears when you're enjoying yourself and you hate it. I mean, it feels like eternity. But the reason I'm able to do that is that immersion is like years of experience, and you're in a peak state while you're doing it. So you remember it because it's locked in, like 9/11. As opposed to 8/11. So I love that. The other thing that I do is I'm capturing, I use AI now to do it. I've kept journals my whole life, just like you, looks like you've done. But I'm building on it, but I have my AI that I've been feeding over and over and over again, the things that I wanted to remember, the principles, and I create structures to evaluate these things.
And I asked you there about how these wealthy investors make their money. The last question I really have around this is how the best entrepreneurs in the world make their money. Again, we're called the Diary of a CEO, so there's lots of entrepreneurs and business builders watching. And I know you've worked with many of the world's top entrepreneurs. In fact, one of them wrote you a letter.
Oh, which one?
Mark Benioff.
Oh, I love Mark. He's a beautiful man.
For anyone that doesn't know who Mark is, he's the founder CEO of Salesforce.
Yes, yeah. He actually came to 4, I think, or 5 of my seminars originally in a row. Same seminar. And, Mark's as big as I am. He's a big guy. And he was going for it full tilt. And finally, after the 4th one, he came up to me and said, you convinced me. I'm going to leave Oracle. I'm going to start my own business. I want you to come on the journey with me. It's called Salesforce.com. He said, we're going to change business around the world. And he said this to me. He goes, and I promise you, we'll get to $100 million in business. Now he's doing like 42 billion, right? So, but what I love about Mark is he's a contributor. He's a social CEO. Like he does things for society. He isn't just about himself. He's an extraordinary human being.
He said, "Dear Tony, I'm so deeply grateful for everything that you've done for me over the last 4 decades." He talked about the seminars he'd been to with you and says that you've transformed his life through your inspiration and ideas. He talks about that particular seminar you referenced as the moment that led him to go deeper and deeper and deeper. He said, it was at Date with Destiny that I made the firm decision to leave Oracle and start my own company. We even had a brief conversation about it back then, if you remember. Fast forward 26 years, and Salesforce now has 80,000 employees and generates over 40 billion in revenue annually. It stands as the largest enterprise software company in the world. I truly could not have done it without you by my side. And as you always say, we often overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we vastly underestimate what we can do in a few decades. Tony, I started this letter with gratitude, and I'll end it the same way. When I reached my most difficult moments, you were there. When I reached my highest heights, you were also there. I never forgot that whenever I reached out for help, you returned the phone call or text, always quickly. Business and politics are temporal, but relationships are eternal, and yours is one I carry with me always. Congratulations on everything you're doing. I look forward to a wonderful future with you.
That's very kind of him to write that letter. He says, I love strangers. I see him as what a CEO is. As well as the business impact. He's got a heart, and of course we all have ups and downs. He's helped me too. It's like one-way piece. It's not like I go around and coach all these people. I'm no idiot. I've learned so much from Mark. It's priceless. So I have to
Where does that emotion come from?
I don't know, it's just like I'm an emotional guy. I'm that guy, and I'm a lover. That's all that I do. And to see somebody I love and to see how far he's come, and to know that I've been able to be helpful to him at key moments is meaningful. It's extremely meaningful because he's provided opportunities for millions of people, 80,000 employees, but millions of people through his creativity and his focus, and we've done a lot of cool things together. I called him one time. I was up in San Francisco for other business, and I read in the paper that this landlord was kicking out these nuns who had the food kitchen in the worst part of the Tenderloin district. And I was like, this guy's an idiot. I mean, I gotta do something. So instead of I met these nuns, these incredible ladies, and they were all their time cooking food so they could sell food, so they could make money, so they could actually prepare food for the homeless. It was a tiny little building. So I called the owner and I said, I own a lot of real estate. I understand your rights as a real estate guy, but I said, do you want to be the most hated guy in San Francisco? I said, I'll give you an option. I'll pay the release. I'll pay twice the amount, and then I'll get them out. I said, but you don't push them out now on the street. So we agreed. And so then I said to ladies, let's find a place for you. I'll help you find a place. We'll rent a place for you.
ناس كاسي انت يوزي كان انا سينا ناس كها خوزو يا ضحام قال لك بصراحه حسب ما بصراحه ما فكر
So I called Nana and she goes, I was said I was looking for a place for you guys for a year. She said, but I can't. She goes, no, God will provide, Tony. God will provide. So I spent to find them a place. But then I called Mark because I didn't want them living in the place. I said, Mark, this. And, I mean, I hesitate a second. We went and he bought them a home. And then the city trying not let them take over this place. That's the kind of guy Mark is. So he's incredibly generous.
You today, just for one of the big things that I've learned is the two moments where I've seen tears in your eyes.
I want you to be as powerful as you can be.
Have expressed a huge amount of love and appreciation for you.
Frustration
And I work back through your earliest years, and again, it's almost like a formation in my mind
I think love is life. There's no question. That's why.
ديكتاتور خير الله ما كبروباغندا نقدر يا قال كايكا بروباغندا
somebody what do you do anything so that's what I'm called to
لا قاعد نقول بس هاد church متى هاسي
job it's not a
لا ستريبرات في كانوا صار church مالتي هاي فكرت
But this is my mission. This is what I'm for. I'm just one guy. I can do a lot. I'm always figuring out how to scale more. People are, you know, my wife and I just burn up a bunch of farms. I've done it 3,000 trees. I said, 100 million trees. So we're up to 75 million. Trees. We brought the farmers information about how to build a so that something starving to making $12 a day. It sounds like that makes them rich in that community. So we're doing that. It's like I love making things to scale. So it's like I love the individual impact. I love the combination of the two. Make life ever challenging and ever exciting.
Entrepreneurs. My last question about recognition is my last question. As me as a, you know, I'm not building businesses at my journey much better Mark. But what is the pattern that you've seen as exceptional as it relates to building great businesses? That you would
I don't think there's anything I'm going to part of you that you don't know. The fundamentals are so simple. The business has to be more than a vehicle for money.
Straight up challenge.
I mean, there are people who have certainly succeeded that way. It has to be a passion where you believe in so much, it's so valuable. It's contribution sense to you, not economic sense. Because in the beginning of a business, it's like having a child, you know. You know, you don't get a lot back. You work and you love them. It's the pride of ownership. If you're just people start a business think they're going to get rich overnight, and those people never succeed. So it's like finding something that not only you believe in, but others are completely moved by it because you can attract people. You can't build an organization without great people. I've got some of the greatest leaders I could possibly the second part, which is how do I find leaders? How do I find leaders that are smarter than I in various areas? And where I can pull together that adds massive value and continually does so until it dominates that market. So I think you have to find something that's more than just a business for you. It has to be more than economics for you. It has to be a mission for the most successful people. And you have to be able to have something you can articulate that can attract people.
That's our expression.
Find the very best
expression.
and you got to the law of familiarity shows. That's what your friends went through, right? They got all these great things. They don't have the same hunger. I look for not only wickedly smart people, which I love, but hungry people. When people ask me, like, what is the common denominator of people that succeed on a massive scale around the world? I'd always in the beginning say, well, I love wicked intelligence, but I know a lot of very smart people that can't fight their way out of a paper bag in their relationship or their finances. You know, they're smart in one area, not another. But the is absolutely, completely accurate is hunger. The hunger to be more, to do more, to give more, to share more. Somebody who has a hunger that doesn't die, not a hunger to make a certain amount of money, a hunger to achieve, a swimsuit size. Those are the people that know their names because they have an impact. So it's like, whether it's Richard Branson who's in his 70s, he has the same hunger today as when he was 16 years old in that crypt in your country, with Virgin, right? So the same level, let's give it a go, right? He's got that piece. Anybody you see on your show and think about how many of them he's a friend of mine. He's hungry. He just wants to do it. To me, that's the gift. And stoking your hunger or awaking someone's hunger, that's a real gift. I think I've tried to
we want to change
is, of all the things we talked about today and everything else that's going on in your life and the world, what is the most important thing we should talk about that we didn't talk about?
a lot of territory. I'm impressed by the diversity. Thank you. We went deep. I don't know if there's anything that off the top of my head right now. I do think that I hope people leave with the idea that if I'm stressed in my life, I got to stop managing. I got to start creating. That sounds like just overwhelming thing, but it's like creating life on your terms, like deciding what are the immutables. It's like, if you want to take the island, you got to burn your boats. If you have a way to go back in mind and rationalize, and you will go back. But if you really are committed to a greater quality of life, you have mastered the science of achievement and fulfillment. And fulfillment is not like achievement. There's very cool real rules for achievement. Like what to do with your body. Multiple ones, but there's certain fundamentals that are immutable. What to do financially. Certain things that are immutable. Fulfillment is an art. It's not a science. Everybody we meet. So I'll tell you one fast example. I know we've gone over in time. Steve was a good friend of mine. Built most of life. Outdid everybody at software. And I just got and I said, okay, I said, I asked a question. How much is such $9 million. Is that even logical? $86.9 million. Okay, I gotta see what an $87 million painting looks like. So I go to his house. He takes me in, shows me this wall. It's a red square. It's a Rothko. It's a red square. And I look at him and go, Steve, I start to tease him a little bit. I go, Steve, if you give me $100 worth of red paint, you give me 10 minutes. I think I can match this. I'm just screwing him a little bit. He knows I'm screwing him. This is a Rothko. I said, I know. He goes, no, but you don't know. Like, he committed suicide. He tells me the whole story. Right? That better be blood if he was for $87 million, right? Steve is making fun of me. He can look at that, he can barely see, and he knows what every single thing is for him. He knows what it's about, what it means, that's life.
Illusions.
I see a red square. He has the richness of life is when you go deeper and figure out what makes you feel like this is your thing. This is what fulfills you. I know what fulfills me. Family, love, as you can probably tell, and contribution in a meaningful way. Like a Christmas tree, and they've made me go for 66 years. And keep me going, right? But people don't find what it is for themselves because they're not fulfilled. What do you got? How many people take their life as super successful, but they weren't fulfilled? Some people did business. You don't want to take their life. Live decades and not really. So my passion is to be fulfilled, not just.
I mean, I've got so many other photos that I might as well show you the ones that...
That's the moment my wife and I met.
That is the moment.
احنا قلنا ولا نادي شيء قاعد عايته كهذا انت هذا شفت خماني من تاع هذاك سريق ولا قالوا البودكاست يتبع هذا هم فتح حسوا لك هم حاجه اللي كان ابونا من تاع هذاك وشي هذا اللي تبع سلام عاد انت ليك
Yeah, my brother and sister. Wow. You do your
We have a closing tradition where the last guest leaves a question for the next one, who they're leaving it for. And the question is, if you could choose how long would it be would you choose to die?
Well, I certainly would live longer because I got I don't know, you know, to a machine and so forth. I believe in spirit and soul. I don't know if that's going to be uplift a machine. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the process, but I want to leave as much legacy as possible. I want to live as long as I'm interested and useful. You know, those are the two things that are really matter. And my minimum, I think, is 92 is my goal, as if I had control, right? Tell me. But 92 my head and what some of the boosts we have with biochemistry and element stem cells. Maybe a century of living and giving would be an extraordinary experience for me. I don't know if I'd want to live for eternity, but I'm not at that point where that's really a choice, so I don't have to think about it. I will tell you, the only fear that I really felt in my life was dying too soon. I think part of my drive early on was just I want to squeeze everything out of life while I'm here. I don't know where it's coming from. I think all things could have contributed to it, but I think death was a good counselor for me. It gave me drive. Today, it's not a fair my children, but especially my youngest. Not forever, but as long as they're useful and helpful and they can enjoy it all. Legacy is in others. I don't have to be here. That's the best part of life. Leadership is influence, right? What makes you a leader is your ability to influence thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions. You're a leader for good. And I look at influence. One is, can you influence someone to change their state? Then it's, can you influence them to change their state? You're a manager, right? You've changed their values. Could you change your state and then people? Could you change your state with a massive number of people when you're not there, right? That to me is the ultimate level of influence. And now with videos and AI, especially with AI, we've got an AI that's amazing. We have 4.9 on Apple and people love it and their lives changed by it. And I'm working right now with another group to create a platform for interventions and therapies. It's not just me with AI, because there aren't enough therapists, there aren't enough great therapists in the world. It's already in 50 languages, so the whole world. I want to leave a legacy that the world has people that can help them 24/7, 365. And I think AI is one of the tools that's getting better and better to do that.
And what happens when you die? Where do you go?
I don't think anything in the universe, I know nothing in the universe ever destroys or changes form. What does that look like? Do I have conscious awareness as I do now? I don't know the answer to that question. All I want to do is make sure I live fully while I'm here and whatever is next.
Thank you so much. For so many reasons, I think you've been a mentor to so many of us for so long in so many ways. I remember finally in a piece on Netflix. And that was really the front door for me into your world. I'd seen a lot before I'd read the books and stuff, but for me that was really a paradigm shifting moment. I think it was in that documentary where there was a young man who was suicidal. Yeah, it was that one, the Netflix.
There was one that's unstarted actually.
Matthias?
Yes,
Matthias. That was what, 6 years ago?
No, that was 2014.
2014. Okay, wow.
Years ago. Yeah.
Gosh.
There was a young woman there also. I don't know if you remember the young woman that was in that sex cult where they made the children have sex with the adults. That one was very emotional. I was down in Brazil and I was doing a seminar for about 10,000 people, and I'm walking through the aisle, and this woman kept looking at me, and then I didn't realize it. She goes, "Don't you recognize me?" And it was her. She got herself out of the group. She wrote a book. She's now a therapist. She helps other people get out of it. So it's really fun to see years later. We actually did a follow-up at the 7-year mark or something like that afterwards to show what happened with these families. it's been really nice to see.
Did you say his name was Matthias? Matthias. He just wanted to. He sent an email just to say that. For anyone that doesn't know, he was a guy in the audience who had suicidal ideation and was clearly struggling. It's been a decade roughly since then. You supported him, you helped him. He's just sent an email to say that attending that event that day was a huge dream for him, and the experiences that he got from that have completely changed the trajectory of his life. And those memories continue to impact him as he continues to support his growth, his habits, his decisions, and his outcomes. He wanted to send his regards to you for that.
That's really kind of him to reach out. That's nice. I love seeing people a year later, 10 years later, 20 years later. That's the great gift of my life. I walk down the street anywhere on earth. Sarah Desert has happened to me in China. People come up and say, you changed my life. And I always remind them, I didn't change the life you did, but glad I got to help what happened. And then they tell me stories. And outside my family, there's nothing that gives me more joy than to hear those stories.
Well, you've done that for more people than I could possibly receive emails from. Hundreds, billions really. If we're counting the amount of people, the amount of meals you fed through the work you've done through your company. You've invested tremendously also in saving the planet through your green energy investments, which we didn't get to talk about today, but I'm going to link that below for people to read about.
One thing I would mention, if I may, is Paramount approached me, and we now have a 24-hour day channel. And it's a fast channel, so it's free advertised supported television. So TV I grew up with instead of cable. So if you go to whether it's Pluto or if you go to Roku or if you go to Amazon Prime and you look for live TV, there's the Tony Robbins Network, and 24 hours a day, there's content there that's free that anybody can watch and educate themselves, and it's full of interventions like these that we talked about. So I hope some people will check it out because it's another way I'm trying to give people a gift to support their lives.
I'm going to link that below, and also I'm going to put a link below to your free 3-day virtual event called Time to Rise, which I think you mentioned.
Oh yeah, please come to that. You don't want to say come, you can do it from anywhere in the world, your office, your home, and it's coming up on the 29th to the 31st of January.
It's perfect timing at the start of the new year.
Yeah,
About making a change in their life. I'm going to link that below as well. If anybody wants to attend, it's free, 3 days, and it's. I think it's a great continuation of the conversation we've had today because we've talked so much about change, a changing world, and how to change thyself, and that's what you've done for me. It's what you've done for so many people, and it's an absolute honour. It's actually for me. I have certain moments when in the job that I do where I think, fucking hell, like how lucky and grateful am I to get to do this, and this is one of those such moments that is a real dream for me because you're such a huge inspiration to me. So thank you so much, Tony, for your graciousness.
I just want you to feel the same way. I feel like you're the next wave of contribution to this world, and you're doing an amazing job already, but I've got a ticket to your parade. I'm going to watch how you evolve over the next couple of decades. I know your contributions will only grow, because I feel the sincerity in your heart, not only to grow, but to give. And I hope that you continue to move towards that love and contribution that you're talking about, because I think that's your true essence. I think that's really what drives you anyway.
I think so too.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is something that I've made for you. I realise that the Diary of a CEO audience are strivers, whether it's in business or health. We all have big goals that we want to accomplish. And one of the things I've learned is that when you aim at the big goal, it can feel incredibly psychologically uncomfortable because it's kind of like being stood at the foot of Mount Everest and looking upwards. The way to accomplish your goals is by breaking them down into tiny, small steps. And we call this in our team the 1%. And actually, this philosophy is highly responsible for much of our success here. So what we've done so that you at home can accomplish any big goal that you have is we've made these 1% diaries, and we released these last year and they all sold out. So I asked my team over and over again to bring the diaries back, but also to introduce some new colours and to make some minor tweaks to the diary. So now we have a better range for you. So if you have a big goal in mind and you need a framework and a process and some motivation, then I highly recommend you get one of these diaries before they all sell out once again. And you can get yours now at thediary.com, where you can get 20% off our Black Friday bundle. And if you want the link is in the description below.
ባህጊ ሁሉ ለኤርትራ ወቃው ሆፍዶ አውጻና ታጥፍል አላም አላይ ባህጊ አሰብ ከይዱስ በቃ ዋጋ ዘፈን ድሌት ይሁን አው
Stop taking life so seriously. No one is getting out of this game alive, and in 3 generations, no one will even remember your name. And if that doesn't give you liberation to just drop your problems for a moment and find some joy, I don't know what will. Because there'll never be a time when there's no problems in life. And that's why this time between Christmas and New Year is a really wonderful time to plan big dreams and goals for the year.
So let's talk about that.
Chris Williamson is one of the world's leading podcast hosts and thinkers, and now he's back.
Educating us on how to build discipline, turning goals into results, what's stopping us finding love,
and what makes a good man in today's society.
The single best question to work out what you should be doing next year. What would have to happen by the end of 2026 for me to look back and consider it a success? And it usually comes down to only a few things. The first one is, in order to pick something up, you have to put something down. So setting the bar unrealistically high does not increase your performance. Like, you could probably lose 20 pounds and get a boyfriend. You can't do that and move cities and start a new business, so make the assumption I can do no more than I'm doing now. Second thing, if your life was a movie and the audience were watching, what would they be screaming at the screen telling me to do with your life? It is obvious. Leave the relationship. The job is not working for you. The killer's hiding in the cupboard. Because if you're not careful with how you design what it is that you chase after, you can spend your entire life realizing that you climbed a huge ladder that was leaning up against the wrong wall.
And is there anything else?
So there is a wonderful upside in trying to conquer and trying to achieve mastery, trying to really drive yourself to go and do stuff. But I'm not like your feelings, just hustle and grind until your eyes bleed either. Because one of the biggest lessons I've taken away from this year is suppression isn't the same thing as strength. And it's a good thing for guys who feel their emotions to show that they feel their emotions, right? Like, I've been at some of my lowest points over the last 12 months. It felt like my better self was slipping through my fingers. I realized my emotions are legitimate, and denying myself that is not helping anything at all. What happened?
I see messages all the time in the comment section that some of you didn't realise you didn't subscribe, so if you could do me a favour and double check if you're a subscriber to this channel, that would be tremendously appreciated. It's the simple, it's the free thing that anybody that watches the show frequently can do to help us here, to keep everything going in the show, in the trajectory it's on. So please do double check if you subscribed, and thank you so much, because in a strange way you're part of our history and you're on this journey with us, and I appreciate you for that, so thank you. My audience care a lot about changing their life for the better, and I think at this time of year, change is front of mind for everybody. Everybody's thinking about New Year's resolutions, who I want to become in 2026, but when you look at the stats, 23% of people quit by the end of the first week of January, their New Year's resolution, the thing they aimed at. Roughly half of people will quit their New Year's resolution, the change they sought, by the end of January, and only about 9% of people will keep their New Year's resolution for the full year. So I guess my opening question to you is, does this time of year matter at all? Is it a useful, productive time to be thinking about change in your point of view?
I think the world is split into two camps. One camp says there is no difference between January 1st and December 31st. Like, why wait? December 10th, just do it now. And the other camp likes the idea of there being a culturally appropriate moment to stop doing something and start doing something else. Most people need to realize that they're already spending tons of time worrying about the future and the past. They're going back to this thing that they regret. I wish I'd done this differently. Or I have rumination about something that occurred. I have a sense of wistfulness for something that I've maybe missed, and grief for something that I've lost. And then they're concerned about the future. They think, I'm uncertain about this thing that's going to happen. I could plan, I could try and come up with a solution to this. So you're already worrying about the past. You're already doing reflection and planning, just in a very unstructured way, where you don't get to choose when it hits you in the face. This is a culturally appropriate moment, like a scheduling appropriate moment for you to just step in and think, okay, in between Christmas and New Year, people that work in retail, God bless you, people that have got to go back to work and do that thing, but usually there's a bit of downtime. It's a little bit slower. Boxing Day, you're chilling out on the couch, and you're kind of thinking, wow, I was here again at mum and dad's house, or with the in-laws or whatever. What was I doing last year? What was it like last year? You're already in a little bit of a reflective mode. There is no special magic super secret squirrel sauce in January 1st. But it is a good moment to check in, because life tends to slow down a little bit. Work time is a little bit more slow, and you're already doing this. you're already thinking about the past and the future, and this is just a good structured opportunity to check in and do it.
I guess the question that everybody should be asking themselves is, what should I aim at? And is there such a thing as aiming at too many things? What is a good goal for change? When you think about all the people you've interviewed and the change you've seen in your own life, what does a productive New Year's resolution or productive goal sound like, and how do I get there?
Yeah, it's very overwhelming. If you realize, wow, I can do anything I want. I could look at my entire life. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. One thing I would say, this is your opportunity to change anything. Behaviorally, you can change anything you want. Not everything you want, right? That's the problem. You can become anything you want behaviorally, but you can't be everything you want. So you need to pick a small number. The single best question to work out what you should be doing next year. What would have to happen by the end of 2026 for me to look back on 2026 and consider it a success? I think that really helps to just give you a bit more perspective. And it usually comes down to only a few things. You don't usually have so much in your mind when you do that. Setting the bar unrealistically high does not increase your performance. Imagine this. Imagine that you went into a buffet and you made your plate as big as possible. You said, I want all of these things. I'm going to put all of this stuff on my plate. And my stomach is going to expand to be able to fit it. That's not the way that our stomachs work. And that is not the way that our workloads work. So, first rule, in order to pick something up, you have to put something down. Don't assume that just because you've loaded more onto your workload plate, your work capacity will expand to be able to fit it into your stomach. That's not the way that it works. Make the assumption, I can do no more than I'm doing now. I can switch stuff, but I can't add more in. Maybe you can, maybe you're going to be able to squeeze your phone time, maybe you're going to be able to become more efficient, more productive, whatever. But it's safer to just assume this is the pie that I'm playing with, and in order to pick something up, I have to put something down. So that's a really important thing, because at the moment, it's December 29th, and I'm full of gusto and motivation, and I can't wait, I'm going to crush it. And yeah, for the first week, maybe you've got that. But if you're using motivation and enthusiasm to work yourself through your goals are predicated largely on a fuel source that you don't have control over. You don't have a massive amount of control over your motivation over a long amount of time. Like, it comes and then it goes. You want something that's a little bit more rigid. So in order to pick something up, you have to put something down.
I think that's a really important point, because when we think about the goals we'll start setting at this time of the year, all of them are asking for more time or more energy. Like, pretty much all of them ask for, I want to start running, I want to start going to the gym. Whereas, as you say, that means I'm going to have to take something off the plate. And we don't think about subtraction at this time of the year. We don't think I'm going to spend less time with my friends. I'm going to cut out Netflix. We think of addition. But logically, there's still just the 24 hours in a day and the finite amount of body budget that we have in terms of energy. So are you saying that I have to create both an addition and subtraction list and make sure that they equal out, they net out to zero?
That would be optimal. I think one question that you really should be asking yourself. Let's go through a bunch of uncomfortable questions people can ask themselves. How would I spend my day if I wanted to make 85-year-old me as miserable as possible? What is it that I did over the last year that made me right now feel this constriction? Okay, I don't like my relationship with my phone. I spend a lot of time on my phone. I don't like how my mornings aren't very productive. I've noticed that when I'm with my friends, I'm not very present. I've noticed that I spend a lot of time on my own. I tend to isolate when things get difficult. I've noticed that I've got into the habit of not telling the truth when people ask me a question. I've noticed that I've got into the habit of not advocating for my needs when I should do. I don't hold my boundaries sufficiently well. Like, this is why the reflection part's really important. So, what would I do to make 85-year-old me as miserable as possible? How would I spend my day? And in what ways am I already doing that? Well, a lot of those are going to cross over. That Venn diagram is not going to be as far apart as you might think it is.
I've heard you ask the question before about if someone was watching this and it was a movie.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's this question is so fantastic. If your life was a movie and the audience were watching up to this point,
ኤርትራዊ ኣብ ጎን ብልጽግና ተሰሊፉ ሲ እንታይ ሓደ ዘየለ ህዝቢ እዩ ፋፋሒሉ ዘሎ ንሪኦ ዘለና እዩ